My studio failed again. My third studio in 3 years. This time it's more of a personal failure than any of the others. The third straight studio in a row I have failed at.
Well, you should explain to them what's really been going on.
I'm going to finally take on something that I've been too nervous or rather purposely avoided doing for the last 10 years or so, but I think the time has finally forced itself upon me. While this is a story that starts with failure, I'm just going to face it head on. In this video, I will be setting up a new YouTube filming space completely from scratch. I'll let you be the judge for yourself what you think of the final results, because I know I've been on this extended break, and while I'm packing these boxes, my brain can't help but imagine what some of the comments might finally be when I upload this video.
This guy announces a 1 million subscriber challenge and then immediately stops posting.
What a joke. I mean, who even cares? He's washed up.
His last good videos was the Slackline docs a decade ago.
No, I liked the van life stuff. When is he gonna do that again?
No, I liked the family stuff. When are we gonna see Janelle and the kids again?
Well, moving day.
Moving day.
Especially after taking a break or trying to do something for the first time, resistance for me is a force to be reckoned with, and this inner critic is something that I often just have to suppress or talk down, and usually it's just far harsher than reality. But this time, though, a few of those imagined hypothetical comments, if I'm being honest, would have some truth to them. And yet, as much as those might sting a little bit, it's actually the least of my fears. Fears that go all the way back to when I was a teenager. When I was 16 years old, I started asking people who made videos or were photographers if I could volunteer to work alongside them and learn about how they made their living. It was a complete mystery to me. And a thing I heard time and time again, as much as they shared their fun client work online, the reality was,
you know, Levi, in order to make it in this industry, you've got to keep the clients happy.
Clients never want to do exciting projects, but you got to take the jobs where you can get them.
You've got to keep the clients happy.
There's no time for passion projects when you've got to put food on the table.
Honestly, making videos as your job is the fastest way I know to kill your passion.
Kill your passion.
To kill your passion.
To kill your passion.
Now, I couldn't help but notice that all of these videographers had offices that were filled with gear that I lusted after. Of course, along with that was more client work to pay for it all. The lesson that I took from this was, if I just simply avoided having an office in the first place, maybe I wouldn't have to do as much client work to do it professionally. And I could, in theory, have some time left over to actually make stuff that I wanted to make. I didn't just avoid having a studio, I avoided even renting an apartment.
Levi Allen follows some of the world's best slackliners, made his film mostly living out of a van.
I was told that you're such a creative guy that you live in a van.
This is true. Yeah, I wanted to make a film in Vancouver, and as we know, it's a little bit challenging to make that life out of the city as a first-time filmmaker.
And of course, my early mentors were right. I had to do a ton of boring client work, but instead of having an office filled with camera gear and a fridge full of Red Bull, I had hard drives filled with footage I'd shot on borrowed cameras. I like having a low footprint because then I can just make the videos that I want to make, and I don't need to wait for someone else to give me permissions. I didn't want to go a lifetime of making excuses for myself. This worked all the way up until it didn't. Working in a hallway alongside a newborn meant that getting stuff done was really hard. Began for the first time in my life looking for a proper studio. Ideally, there was 4 things that I wanted. I needed an editing setup where I could do voiceovers, and I needed socializing. I needed it to be cheap, and I needed room to make and film. Out of these 4, I knew I could only realistically probably pick 3. So after the hallway studio failed, I tried to go for these first 3 priorities. At least I thought I did. I moved into a co-work spot and honestly turned out to be less of a co-work spot. It was very lonely, very tiny, and my stuff kept getting stolen. It was a total failure. As I was packing down this failed experiment, I knew that I was just tired of being alone, and I was willing to consider any option that put me around more people on a day-to-day basis. Enter the bike shop studio idea, and in theory, I thought this might be the perfect mix of my 4 studio desires. Oh, are you seeing the vision now? With some caveats.
The 12 months that followed were just easily some of the hardest months I've experienced in my adult life. Experiencing loss after loss of people that I loved, I just didn't handle. I haven't been handling it well. And yet, having a crew of people around me at the shop, people that I was seeing every day, saying good morning to, eating lunch with, smiling, laughing with, easily is what made the last 12 months bearable in the first place.
But the itch has been growing to make my own videos again. And as much as I've loved being at the shop, I've got to be honest, it's got some problems for me. I had this idea I wanted to run by you.
Okay.
I need to record some videos and audio during the day.
Mm-hmm.
So are you open, hear me out, cycling shop days, like one day closed, one day open. And then I can record on the closed day. Because one day, Monday being closed is great, but what if we could have 2 or 3? I read that in a business book somewhere.
Yeah.
Scarcity.
Yeah, that's right. A scarcity mindset that's going to drive sales to new heights. You see where you're going.
Yeah, that's my pitch to you.
Okay, let me chew on it.
Why is the shop studio not working? Well, I'm simply not getting enough videos done. And I don't think I realized how much of my video editing and storytelling process relied on being able to actually record voiceovers as I'm editing the stories, just like I'm doing now in this very video. And it's taken me 3 failed studios in a row, year by year, to realize what's the point of saving money on a studio if the work isn't getting done? I'm scared. I'm scared of the overhead. I'm scared of having that commitment. I'm scared of what happens if I fail. But when I slow down and I'm really honest with myself, this is important enough to me, even if I fail. It is worth trying over and over and over again until I finally get it right. And so I just signed the biggest lease in my life for a new studio space I'm renting.
Wow, this is awesome. There's so much space.
Instead of a beanbag, that's even better.
Now, this space is not without its problems. I actually have a list of things I need to fix before this video is over. And I also really want to get your feedback on the proper filming angles we're about to set up. So I'll just have to tackle the issues one by one. But boy, does it feel good to finally start a big idea I've been avoiding for several years now.
If you've got a big project or idea you've been dreaming up, I encourage you to go for it. It's one of the most rewarding things you can do as a creative, as a maker, as someone who's got that itch to bring stuff to life and put it out into the world.
While this is the largest lease I've ever signed in my life, it's still a cheap space as far as spaces that I looked at went. This was on the far more affordable side of the spectrum. For good reasons. It doesn't have a lot of things. It has 0 amenities. It has no running water, no plumbing, no extra stuff. I'm going to try solve some of those things and effectively get this set up and running as fast as possible. The first big thing is storage that has an aesthetic quality to it and also a practical quality. So I already set up these really big storage shelves, and now I'm trying to set up a backpack storage area. That's pretty cool. And this flickering light up here is making me so sad. It's making me very sad. And a thought that's been on my mind a lot as I work away here is that the stuff that worked for me in my first decade of online creating likely won't be the same stuff that keeps working for me in my second decade. My life has changed a lot. My goals have changed a lot. I'm realizing that in a new environment might be a good time for me to let go and change my mind about some of these ideas that I've long held to be true about myself. One of those things being, I thought I was a person who hated routine. And I'm realizing I actually really, really like routine because it removes a bunch of decisions that I have to make every day if I have something exciting to be working on. And yes, I have so many exciting projects that I would love to spend my time finishing. Dozens of stories on my hard drives. And I want to get them done and out there into the world. And having a space that's customized for me to do that is really exciting for me. Okay, gear wall backdrop is in a usable state. It's coming together, but the part that I'm most excited about, I've actually been teasing throughout this video in some of the time lapses, and so some of you keen eyes might have been able to put it together. I'm gonna show it to you, but the theme that I'm doing in this studio build is putting everything on wheels. Live view monitor when I'm live streaming and recording videos. The much cooler thing on wheels that I'm designing this whole studio to operate around, this amazing camera rig on a pedestal. So this right here is probably the largest teleprompter you've ever seen. I do a lot of live streaming and teaching with the Adventure Film Academy, so being able to have my notes up here and actually manage the production down here all in one cart. So this will be helpful for my YouTube videos as well when I need to self-manage just filming in general. Especially when I show you what's above me on the ceiling, you're gonna start to get a sense for what's possible. Big thanks to Prompter people for sending this out for the new studio. It's gonna make the ideas that are in my head a lot more possible. But we've got the other side of the room, and the big issue in a big box is the sound. So you've been seeing me set up these acoustic tiles. But something that I've always wanted in a shooting space is the ability to do two things. One, remove the amount of stands I have, because once you set up camera, tripods, monitors, microphones, you end up with like 8 different stands around the main area that I'm filming. So I've really wanted an overhead rig. So what I did is I used the old drawer slides from our van build, which was our garage that we could put the e-bike on. And I mounted them to the shelf with some extruded rail so I can mount things, which importantly means I can do stuff like put an overhead camera on this arm. So overhead rig achieved, but because it's mounted to drawer slides, it moves. So I can move the whole lighting and sound rig to film multiple angles in the same room without needing stands covering it. Come on, this is so cool. Let me show you. I can take my main key light, so I can mount up a proper softbox to the ceiling to reposition in any of the shooting angles I want to do, because sometimes I want to film stuff with the gear wall, and then other times I want to film stuff with the computer editing setup as the background. This amount of flexibility to me is really exciting. I'm about to finally show you what it would look like to film a proper camera angle in this space. The final result of all of this hard work. The last 2 main things I have to deal with is some lighting, some accent lighting, and also lighting for the hex wall. I'm using LED lights in these channels to do strip lighting around the space and trying to avoid teenage boy RGB gamer bedroom aesthetic, and putting lights behind the shelf and kind of getting this backlight and texture stuff going, I think is gonna work. I'm still trying to figure that out. But the other problem to solve,
I don't have running water in this unit.
right now for my water jug, I just use this jug over there that I fill up myself. This idea kind of cascaded out of control, to be honest with you. I was looking for a used fridge, and we found one that was an incredible deal. Needed a couple things fixed, but it had a water spout and an ice maker.
That's a success.
Yeah. Part of the big reason why it's so exciting for me to get different spaces set up for filming is that I've been wanting options for filming longer form conversations, something that I've been very hungry to create and do more of. And so I know in this video, I run the risk of, in the sake of trying to tell a concise story that respects your time, of oversimplifying. And so if you have found those layers of this video interesting, or if you also are a maker, I have a long form discussion on this topic coming to the Make Stuff Club podcast feed, which feels fantastic to say, to be kicking up the podcast again. So if you're someone who's trying to make stuff you're proud of, in that discussion, I share a lot more in detail some of the ideas and underpinnings
that I think are my takeaways from this. I don't want to pretend like I have the answers, but there's a lot of things I've learned, and I've condensed those into what is a longer form discussion. So add Make Stuff Club to your podcast feed. Good things are coming.
Let's see if we get some water flowing, eh? Hey!
Turn the faucet. Oh my goodness. Isn't that awesome?
That is. What?
Gulp, 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 gulp.
And then look up. You got 40 pounds in the bag.
And so this right here is my main second angle with the monitors and the editing setup behind me. That's where I'm going to spend a ton of my time. But when we talk about the 4 things that are my ideal wants out of a studio, this place is missing a big one. It's missing socializing. So that's the awkward thing about this video, the unsaid thing, is that this isn't my forever studio, you know? It's got some big problems. It's not got everything as much as I'm excited. And so I hope when the time comes to move on from this, it's not because of failure, but it's because I did such a good job making a bunch of videos. I'm really hungry to do that. I'm hungry to make a bunch of stuff here on the channel. Remember, life's better when you make stuff.